People say you don't just marry a person, you marry their family. What they don't tell you is what to do when that family decides your happiness is a threat. In today's story, I'm going to tell you how my mother-in-law tried to destroy my marriage, how she lied, manipulated, and played the victim to turn everyone against me, and how, in the end, I exposed her to her own family using nothing but her own words and actions. If you like long, emotional revenge stories about toxic in-laws, family politics, and quiet justice, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay until the very end, because the way her perfect image collapses is exactly the kind of karma people like her think they're above. My name is Sarah, and I didn't grow up with money, status, or a big last name. I grew up in a small house where doors didn't always close properly, walls were thin, and the biggest luxury was having a Sunday off with all the bills paid. My parents were the work until you drop type. My dad was a mechanic, my mom cleaned houses. They were tired, sometimes distant, but they loved each other. They taught me that a good life is built, not inherited. I met my husband, Daniel, at a community event where I was helping organize a fundraiser. He was there on behalf of his company, as he put it, writing a check that was probably more than my yearly savings. He didn't act rich at first. He wore nice clothes, sure, but he helped lift boxes, handed out water, and listened when I talked. He laughed at my jokes, asked about my job, my dreams, not just my story. We started dating slowly. He took me to nice places sometimes, but he was just as happy eating cheap pizza on my couch. He never made me feel like I was less. For a long time, I thought his family would be like him. I was wrong. The first time I met his mother, Helena, she greeted me with a smile so wide it almost looked painful. "Sarah, finally," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. "We've heard so much about you." The "we" was her and Daniel's father, Mauro, who was polite but distant. He shook my hand, asked a few generic questions, and then went back to his phone and his glass of wine. Helena, on the other hand, never stopped talking. She complimented my dress in a way that clearly highlighted how simple it was. "Oh, I love that you don't care about brands," she said. "It's so refreshing." She asked about my parents' jobs, where I grew up, what kind of school I went to, all with the tone of someone filling out a form. "That's wonderful," she said every time I mentioned something humble. "We need humble people in the family. We're all so busy all the time." Busy, her favorite word. She offered me food, refilled my glass, insisted I make myself at home, and yet, her eyes never stopped scanning me, like she was trying to find the weak points in a product. When we left, she hugged me and whispered, "Take good care of my boy. He's never had someone like you." It sounded sweet. It also sounded like a warning. At first, the problems were small. So small I almost convinced myself I was imagining things. Whenever Daniel and I made plans, his mother would need something at the last minute. "Oh, you two were going away this weekend? I wish I had known earlier. I scheduled that checkup, and I really wanted Daniel to go with me. You know how anxious I get at the doctor." If we said we couldn't change our plans, she got quiet. Not angry, just disappointed. "I understand," she would say. "I'm just getting older, that's all. One day when I'm gone, you'll remember these moments." Then Daniel would feel guilty. He'd say we could just reschedule our trip. It's not a big deal. It didn't happen once. It happened over and over. She also had a habit of making concerned comments about me. To my face. "You work too much, dear. Daniel is used to a woman being more available. Don't burn yourself out." To him when she thought I wasn't listening. "She's so independent. That's good, of course. But sometimes independent women forget to prioritize the relationship. I'm just worried." She framed everything as worry. Never as criticism, but it was criticism. When we got engaged, Helena cried. Real tears. Not because she was happy, because she realized she was losing exclusive control. "I'm so proud of you," she told Daniel, holding his face. "You chose with your heart. I just hope she understands what it means to be part of this family." Almost immediately, she took over the wedding. Not offered to help. Took over. "Don't stress with the details," she said. "I've organized events my whole life. I know the best vendors, the right people. You two should just focus on being in love." If I disagreed with anything, the flowers, the guest list, the kind of band, she would smile and say, "Of course it's your day, dear. I'm just thinking of what your guests will expect. You don't want them to think it's cheap, right?" She invited people I'd never met. She made decisions without consulting us and then presented them as done deals. When I tried to push back with Daniel, he would say, "She just wants to help. This is her love language. She's always dreamed of my wedding. Let's just let her have this. Have this." As if our wedding was a gift we were giving her. After we got married, Helena's behavior didn't calm down. It escalated. She called Daniel every day. Not sometimes. Every day. If he didn't answer, she would leave multiple messages. "Are you okay? Did something happen? Why aren't you answering? Is she controlling your phone now?" If we didn't visit for one weekend, she would send texts like, "I cooked your favorite meal and had so much left over. I guess I'll just throw it away. Eating alone again." If Daniel and I had an argument about anything, she somehow found out. Once, after we disagreed about vacation plans, she called me out of nowhere. "Sarah," she said in a tone dripping with fake sympathy, "I know marriage is hard, especially when you come from different worlds. If you ever feel overwhelmed, you can always talk to me. I've been in Daniel's life longer than anyone. I know how he is." Translation: I own him. You are temporary. But the worst part wasn't what she said to me. It was what she started saying to him and to everyone else. I found out about the lies by accident. We were at a family dinner at Helena's house. Her sister Daniel's aunt pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Look," she said in a low voice. "I don't know what's going on between you and Helena, but be careful. She's been talking." "Talking about what?" I asked, my skin crawling. "She says you don't respect her, that you never include her, that you're trying to separate Daniel from his family. I know my sister. When she starts telling a story, she doesn't stop." My stomach dropped. I had bent over backwards to be respectful, to include her, to set boundaries kindly. And yet, to everyone else, she was painting me as the cold, selfish wife who had stolen her son. Later that night, I overheard her talking to Daniel in the hallway. "I just don't recognize you anymore," she said in a trembling voice. "You used to call me every day. Now you have to check with Sarah for everything. I feel like she's taking you away from me." "I'm just trying to build a life with my wife," he replied, sounding tired. "That doesn't mean I love you less." I know that's what she tells you," Helena said. "But one day when she's done with you, you'll see. I just hope it's not too late." Nothing in our relationship suggested I would be done with him. That idea came from her. She was injecting poison and waiting for it to work. The real break came after a carefully crafted lie. One day, Daniel came home from his mother's house looking different, distant, cold. "What's wrong?" I asked. He hesitated. "Did you say something to my mother?" he asked. "About her health? Or her age?" Confused, I said no. Apparently, Helena had told him I said she should stop being dramatic about getting old, and that we were tired of having to take care of her feelings. I had never said anything even close to that. "I would never talk about her like that," I said, hurt. "She was really upset," he insisted. "She said you've been rude, that you're always cold to her, that you roll your eyes when she talks." I stared at him, speechless. "You've seen me with her," I said slowly. "I bend over backwards to be polite. I give up weekends, I help with events, I call her. And you believed her over me?" His silence was my answer. In that moment, I realized something painful. He loved me, but he still believed his mother more than he believed his wife. I could scream. I could fight. I could pack my bags. Instead, I decided to do something else. I would give him, and everyone else, something they couldn't argue with: proof. From that day on, I stopped trying to convince Helena to like me. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped over-justifying boundaries. I did two things instead. I pulled back emotionally, but not obviously. I stayed polite, but colder inside. I started documenting. Whenever Helena sent me a nasty text, then deleted it and followed up with something nicer, I took screenshots. Whenever she called and said horrible things, I wrote down the time and content immediately after. In our country, recording a conversation you're part of is legal, so I started hitting record on my phone whenever she called me to talk. I recorded things like her saying, "I know you never loved Daniel the way I do." Her telling me, "Women like you get comfortable and then take half of everything when they leave." Her admitting, "I told my sister you were unstable, because if this marriage ends, I want everyone to know it was your fault, not his." I also kept records of how often we visited, how often we called, how often I included her in things, to counter her narrative that I was excluding her. Slowly, a pattern formed, not just of a difficult mother-in-law, of a manipulative, strategic woman waging a smear campaign. And the best part? She had no idea I had all of it. Helena loved hosting family gatherings, birthdays, religious holidays, anniversaries, any excuse to be the center of attention. One year, she organized a big family lunch for her own birthday. She invited everyone, siblings, cousins, in-laws, even some family friends. She also invited us, of course. At that point, things between us and her were tense. Daniel and I were arguing more, mostly because he was stuck between believing his mother and believing me. He was starting to see the red flags, but he was still emotionally tangled. I decided that lunch would be the turning point. Not for me, for everyone else. At the lunch, Helena played her role perfectly. She walked around greeting guests, telling them how blessed she was to have such a big, loving family. She made a speech about gratitude, about children being everything, and about accepting new members into the family even when they come from a different world. Indirect shots at me, of course. At one point, she clinked her glass and said she wanted to say something from the heart. "I know some of you have noticed that Daniel doesn't come around as much anymore," she said, her voice trembling theatrically. "I just want you all to know. It's not my choice. I would see my son every day if I could. But some people don't like to share. Some people think they know what's best for him because they have a ring on their finger." Eyes turned toward me. Soft, judging, curious. "I've tried so hard," she continued. "I've welcomed, I've supported, I've helped. But no matter what I do, I'm always painted as the villain. It breaks my heart." Tears fell. She covered her face. Some relatives rushed to hug her. My hands were shaking under the table. I saw Daniel's face. He looked trapped, angry, ashamed. Something in me clicked. I stood up. "Can I say something?" I asked, my voice calm but loud enough for everyone to hear. The room quieted. Helena looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Of course," she said softly. "This is a family, after all. We should all be honest here." "Perfect," I replied. I took out my phone, opened a folder, and connected it to the small Bluetooth speaker they used for background music. "I've been told many times that I'm imagining things," I said. "That I'm too sensitive. That I'm misinterpreting concern as control. Instead of arguing, I decided to start keeping records. Not of how I feel, of what was actually said." A murmur went through the room. I pressed play. The first audio was a call where Helena told me, "You think you're special because he married you? You're just the latest chapter. I've been here since page 1, and when you're gone, I'll still be here." Gasps. The second recording, "I told the family you're unstable because I need them to be ready when this explodes. I won't let them think my son ruined anything. It will be all on you." Silence grew heavier. The third, "Don't get too comfortable in that apartment. If I have to, I'll make his life so miserable he'll leave you on his own. I've known him longer. I know how to push his buttons." Someone at the back whispered, "My God." I played a few more short clips. Her calling me an opportunist. Her saying she hoped we wouldn't have kids so it would be easier to separate later. Her laughing about making up stories to get Daniel to choose her side. I didn't scream. I didn't comment. I just let her speak. When I hit pause, the room felt like it was holding its breath. Helena's face had gone from pale to red. "That's out of context," she blurted. "You're twisting things. It's literally your voice," I said quietly. I didn't add a single word. I didn't remove one. This is what you say when no one else is listening. This is who you are when you're not crying for the camera. Her sister, Daniel's aunt, stood up. Helena, she said slowly, you told me Sarah was cold, that she excluded you, that she never tried. But I've heard her invite you. I've seen her helping you in the kitchen. And now I hear this? You lied to all of us. Another relative added, you made us feel sorry for you while you were actively trying to break their marriage. That's sick. Helena looked around desperate, but this time, the sympathy she expected wasn't there. In all of this, the person whose reaction I feared most was Daniel's. He sat there, listening to every word his mother had said. The woman who had raised him, the one he thought would never intentionally hurt him. When the audios ended, he looked like someone had pulled the ground from under him. Did you really say all that, Mom? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She reached for him. Sweetheart, you know how things get twisted. Your wife is trying to... He pulled his arm back. No, he said louder this time. That was you. That wasn't edited. That wasn't out of context. You were planning to destroy my marriage. You lied to everyone here about her, about us, about yourself. I did it for you, she cried. She's not right for you. She's changing you. I'm your mother. I know better. He shook his head. If this is what love looks like to you, he said, then I don't want your version of love anymore. The room went dead silent. Some relatives left early, uncomfortable. Others stayed, asking questions, angry at being manipulated. By the end of the day, Helena, who once controlled the entire family with her narrative, sat alone on her own couch, her birthday ruined, her reputation in pieces. She tried, of course, to spin it later. To some people, she said I had invaded her privacy. To others, she said the recordings were doctored. But once you hear someone say those words in their own voice, it's hard to unhear. The damage was done. After that day, Daniel and I went to couples therapy. Not because I was unsure of him, but because we needed to rebuild trust, not between us and his mother, but between him and his own judgment. He apologized, not just once, many times. For so long, I thought you were exaggerating, he said. I didn't want to believe my mom was capable of this. That was my privilege. I'm sorry you had to prove your pain instead of me just listening to it. We set clear boundaries. No more daily calls, no more unannounced visits, no more shared holidays unless Helena was willing to acknowledge what she had done, which, unsurprisingly, she wasn't. Some relatives chose to stay neutral. Some quietly sided with us. Some stayed firmly on her side because it was easier to blame the outsider than to accept that their own blood was toxic. I stopped trying to fix anyone's perception of me. I had done what I needed to do. I exposed the truth. My revenge wasn't destroying her completely. She still has her house, her things, her remaining enablers. My revenge was taking away the one thing she treasured most, her ability to control the narrative. She wanted to be seen as the saintly mother, the victim, the martyr. Now, whenever she starts a sentence with, "You won't believe what Sarah did," there's always at least one person in the room thinking, "But what did you say when no one was recording?" And that doubt, that crack in her power, that's mine. If you've ever had a toxic mother-in-law or family member who tried to sabotage your relationship while playing the victim to everyone else, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. Would you have kept the peace, left the marriage, or collected proof and exposed them like I did? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who feels crazy for noticing what no one else seems to see. And if you want more long, emotional revenge stories about toxic family, manipulation, and the power of cold, hard truth, stay tuned. Season 2 has a lot more coming.